Hello there and welcome, this is Anki and I'm really excited to show you this really cool plugin that allows you to use Obsidian together with Anki. Now, this is a bit of an overview, a bit of a walkthrough on how I set things up myself. This is not going to be fully comprehensive, and as a word of warning, this is not very beginner friendly. If you want to check out something that is very beginner friendly, then check out my Obsidian online course where I'm teaching all the fundamentals of Obsidian till the place that you can master things and really know how to manage your nodes for the long run, future proofing, and so on. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave this link in the description. It would mean a lot. And yeah, with that said, let's get into the plugin. So this is the Github page. If you don't know, GitHub is a place where programmers can publish their code. And I was talking to the creator of this amazing plugin, and he's super cool. He used to, it was initially a script made in Python that allowed us to do the same functionality. And I wanted to teach that, but I knew it was going to be very complicated. So now he was really kind to just tell me that now there's a new plugin, and I'm so happy that there is, because now that means that I can teach it to you, right? And again, this is not going to be extremely simple, so you do need to have like at least some ability to troubleshoot things, like if something goes wrong, try to figure things out, because yeah, you're probably gonna get stuck. Even before recording this video, I had to run a lot of tests to make sure that I can teach it and that it won't break in the middle of the video. So with that said, let's take a quick look at how things work. So if we scroll things down, here you will see getting started, and then there's a setup for the Obsidian plugin user. So make sure to read this. First, it's gonna tell you what you need to do in Anki. And let's go quickly to Anki. So chances are, if you are watching this video, you already know what Anki is, but just as a quick overview, it's a place where you can study different nodes. For instance, here I have my Esperanto one, which is a language I've been learning for a couple of years now. That is a test, so ignore that. But bonvenon means welcome, salute means hello, and so on. And I can keep studying things. Is this thing called the spaced repetition that is pretty popular right now. So the very useful thing about this plugin is that it's going to allow us to create these cards and these decks from inside of Obsidian, which is really going to allow us to create cards a lot quicker, and cards that are ours. Because if you use Anki before, you will know that it's very common to just download other people's cards, but by creating yours, you can really customize your study and make things a lot more efficient. So with that said, let's take a quick look on how to set things up, what things will look like. So the first step is to, in this case, download the app. I'm in Linux, so things might look slightly different for you, but just go to ankiweb.net, which is a website of Anki. Here you can download it depending on what you have. So you will be able to see, for Linux or whatever recommends. Here is Mac and Windows, if that's what you are into. But yeah, either way. So you can also use Anki on the web, like you can log into Anki Web. Here it is, and you can also download it. It's free for Android, which I do have, and I believe it's paid for iPhone, but I honestly believe it's worth it. The payment barrier is really just there to support this whole project, that if I'm not wrong, it's open source, and it's really adding a lot of value to a lot of people's lives, so I highly recommend supporting it. So once you've downloaded Anki, you should have something like this. And now if we go to the page in here, the instructions, make sure you read through all of this. It's very important, especially the setup. And then I'm going to walk you through some of the fundamentals, right? And I'm going to show you the way I do things, because slightly different to the defaults, but it's a way that I really enjoy, and hopefully you will too. So first off, okay, Obsidian plugin users. So have Obsidian downloaded, of course, and then you got to search through the community plugins. So let's just go search real quick. Here in Obsidian, I'm just going to use some shortcuts. Let me turn them on. Cool, there we go. So Control comma, it's gonna open the settings, and in here we can go to third-party plugins. Make sure this is in save mode off, which is gonna allow you to use the community plugins, and then you can browse. Just search for Anki and you should find it. So Obsidian to Anki. In this case, we could update, the latest version if we already have it, but of course, if you're installing it for the first time, it's gonna show you install. So with that, now let's press escape. And we can scroll here down. Right now I turned all of my other plugins off just so that there are no conflicts, but of course you can turn all of your different plugins on. This is just a technique that I use for when there's issues and you might want to make sure that it's not other plugins causing conflict. So that's what I was doing, and I'm gonna keep doing it just for the sake of this tutorial. So turn this on. Mine is already on, as you can see. And now I highly recommend restarting Obsidian. You can do that in my case with Control R. Usually I need to be on preview mode in Linux. Not sure if that's an issue everywhere, but yeah, I reloaded it with Control R, and or you can close Obsidian and open it up again. That's what I do when I install new plugins, because I've noticed sometimes it's needed. So yeah, just do that just in case. Now here's the next step. Let's go to settings again, and because you already installed the plugin, you should be able to see Obsidian to Anki. Okay, here's where we're gonna come back in a second after we set things up in Obsidian, in Anki, and here's where we control certain settings. Okay, so just make sure that everything is loaded in there, and now we can go to Anki. So go to Anki, to the web app, sorry, not the web app, the downloaded app that you just got in here, because what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go to tools, add-ons, and I already got a couple, but the one that we need right now is called Anki Connect. So the way that you get a new add-on, just so you know, you press in get add-ons, and then you can browse add-ons. That's gonna allow it to load it, and it's gonna be here. It's gonna open in my case in Firefox, whatever browser you use. And now I'm gonna do a command find for connect. It's actually right there in the top. I didn't even see it, but there it is. So we press Anki Connect, and here it's gonna tell us the code that we need to install this add-on. Okay, so we copy that, and now we go back here and we paste this code in here. We press OK, and now we got it. Because I already have it downloaded, I'm gonna put it cancel, but make sure you press OK. And now it might ask you to restart Anki, which I recommend you do. It's always better to do that when setting new things up in Anki. But once you do that, once you restart Anki, you're gonna be able to click in here and now press config. Okay, config is the configuration file that is gonna allow us to extend the functionality of this particular plugin. Okay, so now as you can see, I already have this in here. It's Obsidian. So if we go back to the instructions page, it's gonna tell us in Anki, navigate to tools, add-ons, Anki Connect, config, which is where we are, and change it to look like this. All that changes is these two lines. Okay, so by default, let me just show you what it looks like by default. If we remove this line and we remove this comma, that's what yours is gonna look like. So all you need to do is take this line right here, and remember there's a comma right here because this is the way things are formatted. So we put a comma in here, we go to the next line, and we indent it like that. Let me just put some spaces, that's fine. And now remember to put the comma in here. Now, you could also just copy everything. You can just copy this and paste it there. That might be easier, whatever works for you. It's just good to know what is going on, because if you copy this and you don't put the comma, chances are things are gonna fail. So if everything looks exactly like this, you're gonna be good. Now, if you have any other things, just make sure to put the comma and so on. But yeah, as long as you have this looking like this, it should work. Okay, you press OK. And now I recommend you restart Anki. In my case, I'm just gonna exit out of there because I have things installed already. But now we're ready to use it from inside of Obsidian. Okay, so let's go to Obsidian now. And the first step you need to take is to sync, to run a sync of the app, which you're gonna be able to find on the side in here. There are different icons. You can just click on Obsidian to Anki, scan Vault. It's gonna tell you successfully connected to Anki. Don't quit Anki while the thing is loading. This might actually take a minute. I've noticed that sometimes you just need to be patient, especially in the setup of things. And just so you know what's going on, if you open the console, which in my case is done with Ctrl-Shift-I, here you can see what is actually going on when you press that button. What it's doing is connecting with Anki. Let me just move this thing out of the way. And then it's gonna just scan through all your different files. Right now mine already did, but you might be able to see all of your files being scanned in here. And if things are not working, it's gonna show you in red right here. And from there, you could go to the GitHub page and maybe ask for help making an issue on GitHub, which I can show you. In GitHub, you can do an issue and you'd be like, I don't know why this thing is not working. And you can then copy the text that you get in the console. That is just something that is very useful to know in general. So yeah, I thought it'd be valuable to share. Now, here's the part where I'm gonna skip through some basic things of this plugin because I use it kind of different to the default, but these are the most important links that I found from the documentation. So the documentation, you can find it in this page in Obsidian to Anki in GitHub. And if you go to Wiki, you'll be able to read more about the instructions, where to start. Now, keep in mind that there's things relevant to the script, which is a Python script, which is not what we're using. But most things regarding format and so on they're going to be relevant. So for instance, deck formatting, let me just open that. I'm going to show you. So in here, it says that at the beginning, when you create a new file, okay, and I'm going to show you how I structure my files, you should put this at the top, target deck, mathematics, because that way, for instance, that's what I did to create the Esperanto one. I'm going to show you in just 1 second, but it's important to show you where you can find things. Now, if you go to node formatting, here you're going to be able to find how you should format a node. Now, this is the default one. I'm going to show you another one. Actually, if we go to formats, these are different ways that we can use to format our nodes. Now, if you might be familiar, you might have heard about NeuroCache, which is another system for syncing Obsidian or Markdown files with Anki, but in my experience is not as good as this. To be honest, I like this a lot more, but NeuroCache has a really good format. So that's the one that I use, and I'm going to show you how it works. But just as a concept, let me show you what it actually looks to have. If you try this thing out, okay, this is a normal format. You need to determine the deck that you're using. For instance, target deck at the beginning of a file. Then you need to format things like this. This is the start of a new card and the end of the new card, okay? But what I do is I actually format things in a slightly different way by setting this up. So with that said, I know it's a bit confusing, so just bear with me. I'm gonna show you what my Esperanto file looks like. So I have this in Learning Anki. You can have it anywhere in your vault, actually. I like having it in one folder because it's more convenient to be able to go there if things go wrong or so on. Here I have an index where you can see I have my Esperanto one in here. So let's just click in there, and this is what it looks, okay? Target deck, and then I have a colon, and then I have the name of the deck, which if we go to Anki, here we're gonna see it's naming it Esperanto. If you also have other cards already inside of your deck in Anki, you can still do this, and it's gonna merge with those. It's gonna form part of the same deck. So you're gonna have some that you might have created from inside Anki, and you can have others that are created in here. So let me show you how things work, okay? So this is the format that I actually use to create new cards, okay? I put whatever I want at the front, followed by this hashtag flashcard, which is what you need to do in order to make it work, and then test back, which is what in my case is going to be at the back of the card. If you see at another one, for instance, "Kio estás bien homo," it means in Esperanto, what is your name? And what this plugin is going to do is going to create an ID, and that ID is going to allow it to be part of Anki. And when it has the ID, it should go to Anki. This one is not in Anki, so we're going to have to do that. But first, this is the important part. This format, which is a NeuroCache format, is not there by default. By default, you need to put a start, basic, and then you need to end it with end. But I like this format a lot more. It's a lot cleaner. So what you need to do is you need to go to settings, and here's where I was telling you. You need to go to Obsidian, to Anki, which is the plugin options of this particular plugin. Let me put this here. And now you need to open node type table, okay? And what you need to do is you need to copy this into this section. Apparently you can also do it in one of these ones, but to be honest, this is where I prefer because this is the only format I intend to use. And this you can get from this link right here, which is, it's going to be in the description, but this is part of the wiki where there's a lot of instructions. And actually, let me just show you exactly where you can find it. So when you go to the homepage, just in case, because it's important to be able to navigate this. There's been a lot of work put into making sure that everything is well documented. If you go to the wiki, which can also be found from up here, then you can go to Regex, which is regular expressions, which is new ways or different ways to format things. Now I go to NeuroCache, flashcard style, and now here's the code that we need, okay? And here's an example that you can test, but this is the code that we need. So we copy that, and then in here we can paste it. As you can see, I already pasted it there. That's where you need to paste it. Now you can refresh Obsidian, and it's gonna work now. So as you can see, I'm gonna just run a new test in here, and we're gonna call it test 2. Now let me just zoom into this so that you can see it better. Let's go bigger. There we go. So test 2, this is what is gonna be at the front of your flashcard. And now we need to write flashcard. As you can see, that is a tag in Obsidian, so it auto-completes. I usually tend to delete this space after it. I've noticed it causes conflict sometimes. By now it might be a superstition, maybe there's nothing wrong with it, but I like making sure that there's no spaces after flashcard. Then, sorry, we go to the next. Let me just make sure that there's, okay, we're good. Now, this is gonna be the back of the card. Okay, and now we can run this little thing right here, this little icon. You can also activate that from the command palette, which is done with Control P, and you can search for Anki. I have it as a shortcut in here, you can see. So we click in here and it's gonna load. Okay, now we give it a while and that is gonna generate an ID. Once you see this ID, it means that it's already in Anki. Okay, so if we go to Anki, now because we're in the Esperanto deck, we're gonna open that one, we're gonna study it now, and we're gonna go through a few answers until we find it. Cool, there we are. So now you can see that if you show answer, this is gonna be the back of the card, which is exactly what we have in here, okay? So that is how you can create these cards in Anki from inside of Obsidian. Now, and a very important thing that you need to know is, let me just go back in Anki. So let's go back to decks, okay? Here we can see that we have our different decks, everything that we create, whether from Anki or from Obsidian. Now, what's really important, and this might give you issues at the beginning if you don't know this, is that in order to delete this, it's not like you can just get rid of this and delete it. What you actually need to do is you need to write delete above the ID. Okay, and once you write delete, now you can sync things, which can be done again from the command palette, from right here with the icon right there, or from a shortcut, which as you can see, I have it in here. I have Anki and I just mapped it to Alt A. You can map it to whatever you want. You just click in here, just press whatever you want. So Alt A, there we go. And now I'm gonna be able to run Alt A. Now keep in mind that there's a delete in here. Alt A is gonna say, okay, we've managed to link with Anki and now it's all done. That it means that now the whole card is being deleted and is not going to be in Anki anymore. Now, after that, make sure to delete this if you don't want it, because let me show you, if you sync things again, I just press the shortcut, it's going to take that exact same thing because it's ready to be set up and it should create a link, a new ID in there, okay? There you go, you see, so it's been created again. So in order for that not to happen, just make sure again that you do delete. This is how we delete things from inside of Obsidian. Then we run the shortcut, and then once it's deleted, let me just run it right there. And once it's been deleted, make sure to delete this one as well. And now if you sync it again, which I just did from the shortcut, it's no longer gonna be in Anki. So if we go through the Esperanto one, now we can go through, that was a different test because the one that we're looking at is called test 2. There it is. Okay, so look at this one, test back, this is a different one. This is one that I have in here. So again, just for another example, we need to write delete. We're gonna sync that. And now it's gone. And now we need to delete it. And now if we go back here, we shouldn't see test anywhere, okay? So now we can learn our Esperanto. Trevona dankon kaj vi. How are you? Okay. Kio estas via nomo? What is your name? Bonvenon, welcome, and so on. And that's how you can study things. You can mark things good, easy, and so on. Just use Anki as normal. And yeah, that's it. So with that said, I hope this wasn't too confusing. I know it's kind of tricky to understand the logic of this plugin. It takes a little bit of getting used to. Now, again, I do things in this format with a flashcard, but by default, this is not going to work. So just make sure that if you want to use that format, which is the one that I prefer a lot more than the default one, make sure to put in node type table this regular expression right here. That is going to allow you to actually use this format. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I can't promise you won't have any issues. I definitely had a few stumbles here and there with the Python script, which was the more kind of like the first way to do this. It was a bit tricky. You needed to install things from Python in the terminal usually and just run things from inside the terminal. But with this, it's a lot easier to do. You're still probably gonna have a couple of hiccups here and there, but the creator is very determined to make this plugin really good. So I truly believe it's gonna get even better and it's gonna be even more beginner friendly. But yeah, with that said, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too confusing. Now, feel free to ask me questions in the comment, especially if it's something small. But if you're having like big issues, it's a lot better if you just put them in issues right here. You can create a new issue, and then you can explain what your situation is. As you can see, I already did that. The creator is really cool. He's very responsive. He wants to make sure that this plugin works for everyone and that is very functional. So yeah, with that said, if you go to the beginning of this page in GitHub, you're gonna be able to see at the very end, buy me a coffee, okay? And I highly recommend you do this because the creator of this plugin is doing the best they can to make this amazing, and only through our contributions is gonna be possible to grow this plugin as far as we want it to grow, okay? So if you use this, make sure to contribute. And yeah, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope it wasn't too confusing again. Now, make sure to check out my course, which I'm gonna leave in the description if you want to get started with the fundamentals of Obsidian. But yeah, I'm gonna see you soon, and yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. So see you later. Bye.